Do I have to leave assets to my children equally? We get this question all the time. So welcome to another episode of the Ask Amity show. And today we want to talk about how to leave different amounts of assets to your children. So when you have an estate plan, it's really important to think about how you want to distribute your assets, especially when you want to distribute in equal parts to more than one child. So what are the types of scenarios where you want to think about distributing different amounts to different children? Factors that you may want to consider is when your child is going to perhaps take care of you and your spouse. So you want to give them something called maybe a reward or compensation for their time and the devotion to you and your spouse. Maybe this child is more responsible. Maybe this child is just someone that you trust, or simply someone who has more time because they don't have their own family. And you want to be able to make sure that they are also taken care of when they are older and have something to help them in their old age. Another scenario is when your child is looking to take over your business if you own one. So maybe this child will need the distribution stated in your estate plan that they're going to be the one that's going to lead the charge for the business and continue the business. Another scenario is perhaps when a child has special needs. Special needs could include a child that is on state benefits, state disability. Maybe the child is handicapped or has other types of learning disabilities. So you want to set up a trust to make sure that they get something to fulfill those special needs. Maybe it's extensive enough where you want to think about a special needs trust as well for that child. Another option, another scenario where you're thinking about having different distribution is for when a child is planning maybe in the future to create a business, or you know that this child is going to get married or have children. So they're going to maybe need a different distribution plan as well. So those are the types of scenarios where you want to think about having different distribution for those scenarios.
Yeah, and in certain situations, maybe it might be easier to do equal distribution amongst your children. And that would be, if you want to make sure that there's no conflict. Once you pass away, you don't want siblings to go against each other because somehow, the distribution was not equal. So if you want to avoid this possible family conflict, then, we would recommend that perhaps doing an equal distribution would be necessary. Also, if you feel like your children are, pretty responsible with their money, none of them have any sort of special needs that we would, be concerned about. They can each manage on their own, then it would make sense, yes, perhaps doing an equal distribution as well. And then something also to consider is, a lot of us, once we pass, we may leave real estate. So with real estate, what we can put in the language is that it would just go equally, right, to perhaps if you have 3 children, equally to 3 children. And what does that mean? If you say equally to 3 children, then the trustee at that time would either transfer the title, where the title and the deed would state those 3 children's name in equal shares. So they would each own 1/3 of that property. Or, you can say, the trustee can determine, hey, maybe the market is good for selling. They don't want to continue having to deal with mortgage payments. And then they split the proceeds 3 ways. So that's also a possibility. Another thing to think about is if you have specific property that you want to, leave to a specific child. Let's say you have 3 homes and you want to leave each child with 1 home. Then you might want to look into the actual value of the home, because obviously, different location, different value, and whether or not that really is an equal distribution amongst the 3 children. And also location, again, if possibility of your children living in different areas out of state, logistically, if that's really a feasible way to distribute, and whether or not it would actually create a burden for them to inherit this property. So these, all of these scenarios we would love to discuss with you and go into a little bit more detail with you, understand your family dynamics, understand your assets, your wishes, and then we can kind of go into more detail and our recommendations to you after this full discussion. Again, we'd be happy to talk to you one-on-one. Feel free to give us a call and we'd be happy to discuss. Thank you.